Hello, guys. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Oh my gosh. I can't believe y'all are on Bible study on Cinco de Mayo. Look how spiritual and stewardess y'all are, man.
And I'm here
And Day's here in the corner
on Cinco de Mayo.
on Cinco de Mayo, man. I love y'all. And I'm not going to hold y'all because I know some people are going out or whatever. And so it's all good. I know there's also grad season too. So shout out to all of our graduates that graduate today. Hadia, there was somebody else that's supposed to be graduating too soon. So, I definitely get their names so we can shout them out. But great to see y'all. Great to be able to kick it with y'all on Thursday. And as we're going into a new month, obviously we've been keeping the theme of having every single month be a specific part of a house. And so I'm gonna just kind of preface what the month will be like through this Thursday. And so recap, January, we were talking about foundation. We was talking about vision, and we was talking about the ability to be able to see what it is that you want to be seen inside your life when it comes to your spiritual life, when it comes to your finances, when it comes to your relationships. And so we really was able to establish that. Secondly, we were able to talk about foundation. And in that foundation, ooh, look at Siri. Secondly, inside that foundational conversation, we were able to speak on just what the foundation of what Christ has for us, what he said, what does the Bible say, and how do we actually read it, the foundation of relationships or whatnot. And we're able to tackle that inside February. March was all about pillars and building the frame. So what are the toxic pillars in our life and how can we strip them away and establish healthy pillars? And then in April, we were able to talk about walls, and walls were the things that we use to establish boundaries. We had walls that we put up to keep us away from God, talking about that. And we also kind of just was able to really hone in on just how to make space for God and space in our own environments, and then creating environments for other people. And so for the month of May, which is one of my favorite ones to talk about, was windows. And so when we're talking about windows, what do you all think that the themes could be that we would be speaking on? If you could just guess, you could put it in the chat, you could come off of mute and let me know. But what would you think if you had to guess what we'll be talking about throughout this month when you hear just windows and relating it to this entire theme of us being a house that's built to last?
I would say letting things go, maybe.
Okay.
Letting things go.
Okay.
I don't know.
Let things go. Allowing people to see you, the real you. Okay.
I like that. I like that.
Anybody else have a opening up? Ooh, okay. Yeah. Y'all get into it. Y'all get into it. Anybody else got anything? All right, cool. That's what's up. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about a lot of that. We're gonna be talking being able to see others. Yes. We're gonna be talking about a lot of the perspective aspect. When you think about a window, there's two sides. And so you have the side of looking through a window from the inside of the house and then the outside of the house. And if we are, again, this metaphorical house, what we're going to be talking about is just the perspective of what's inside, from the inside looking in, and then the outside looking out, and then what comes from that, being able to realize what image is and what perspective is and all of these other different things and these nuances. Because I think that this is one of the main things that God wants to kind of drive for us to really get and understand. But it all starts with the perspective of how we approach it. And so as I was developing today, I was just thinking about the fact that, at the end of the day, we all have an image, like everybody has an image, whether that image be something that you created yourself or somebody else projected onto you, everybody in here has a specific image. You might have the image of being a ball player. You might have the image of being a pastor. You might have an image of being somebody that, you know, is very creative. You might have the image of being somebody that's super spiritual. Everybody has a specific image, and that image is created from four things that I laid out specifically. And so those four things that I have are the circumstances that you're in. So whatever you've, you know, been through inside your life that has created this type of image for you, the environment that you're placed in. And so a lot of us come from completely different backgrounds or environments, and those environments shape your image. The opportunities that you possess. So all of us are granted specific opportunities in life, and with those opportunities, that allows us to have the advantage of doing something that somebody else possibly wouldn't have done, which creates that image for us. So again, for example, if you had the opportunity to be on a sports team, you were able to play sports, you were able to work out, whatever the case may be. And then that was a stepping stone in you to create the image of you being an athlete. And then finally, the engagement that we have. And so engagement is super loose. That can be anything that we do, any walk of life that we go through, any steps that we take inside life. It all is a form of engagement. So the way that you communicate with people, the way that you talk, the way that you know, work at your job, whatever the case may be, all of these are engagements. And so again, those four things are your circumstances, your environment, your opportunity, and your engagement. And all of these are the things that I've thought of that create the image of what we see ourselves as. These four things also create what we call perspective. And so perspective is super important because of the fact that all of us have perspective on something. You know, my perspective on things might not be the same as Fawn's perspective on things. Fawn's perspective on things might not be the same as Chris. It might not be the same as Kendrick. It might not be the same as Terica, Desi, whoever the case may be. But these specific attributes that we were able to acquire were able to give us a certain level of perspective that we go through life with, you know, and we have a mindset or an image of how things should operate, how things have operated, who I am as an individual, and who I want to become from the things that I don't see in myself. And so this perspective shifts how we look at the world around us and the people that are involved inside the world. And so I want to kind of, you know, put a pin in it real quick. And I want to ask you all, what are some of the positive things? You can pick which one. You can talk about one or the other, or you can talk about both. But in your specific life, what are some of the things that you can kind of think about that made you who you are, that made the image of you? And so what are the things in your perspective that created this idea of who you are as an individual? And I would want to hear from majority of y'all, you know, feel free to answer that. Hello, Desi. Hello, Dree and Teddy. Y'all good? Anybody want to go ahead?
Jay, can you repeat the question one more time? Sorry.
Yes. So what are the things in your life that you went through perspective wise that created who you are as an individual? And so what are like the things that you saw, the things that you did that established who you look at yourself as? So like the image of yourself. Like maybe you was a cheerleader, and so that was the thing that you held on to. You was a dancer, whatever the case may be, and that created this image of who you think you are as an individual. What are some of those things in your life that you can kind of date to, if you had to list any? They don't have to be positive. So I can start it off, you know, and I'll pop it off. So I know for me, you know, I was about to say what Q was just saying, being a PK specifically, I had a lot of attention on me, you know what I'm saying? Because everybody knew my dad. So because everybody knew my dad, instead of making me be this like super out there type of kid, I was not that. I was very reserved because it made me not want to have so much attention on me. And so that was something that I kind of took with me, and it formed an identity of I love people. And I think that my love for people also came from my dad because of the fact that we were able to know so many different people growing up. Like he was a youth pastor. So I met a lot of his kids, you know, growing up. And so I got a different perspective from people because I was able to, one, be around older kids, but then I also talked to so many different people where I love people now. But because of the fact that I also was a PK, it made me a lot more reserved. So I'm not somebody that's seeking attention in any type of way. I would prefer to be in the background, but I love conversation and I loved people and I love to talk about people and grow with people. And so that kind of shifted my perspective and it grew into the image of who I am today. So if that's the example, Kendrick said, not having my father in my life made me a better man, but it also led me to make a lot of decisions. And I can relate to, you know, that as well, you know, because I didn't grow up with my father in my house. So because I also had that duality of staying with my mom, but visiting my dad on the weekends, you know, I got into a lot of stuff over here, but then I kind of had that moral compass over here because of the fact that I still had a level of, you know, exposure to that. And so that duality was made through my experiences growing up with my parents specifically. But anybody else? Same for me, not growing up with my mom and being the oldest definitely carved me. Definitely. Um, uh, I want to elaborate some, Kendrick, for those who don't know. Can you kind of speak on just the things that you feel like created that from those mistakes that you made with not having your father? Like, what were some of the things?
Yeah, for me, it was just not having that positive male role model, and not saying that he would have been positive. Like,
Mm-hmm.
who knows? He probably would have made my life worse. You know, that's something I'll never know. Like, because we always say, we didn't have our mom or dad in our life, things would have been better. But how do we know that? You know, he could have been evil. But just, you know, growing up faster, being around older cousins and they people making mistakes, and you know, I never got arrested, thank God. But like, you know, I did get into a lot of trouble, and just not knowing how to be a man right away, not knowing how to love, because
Mm-hmm.
my mom, she was always working. So it was just like things I had to learn on my own. Like, even to this day, like, good good thing now I have like big brothers around me that I consider big brothers, and they, you know, if I have questions. But yeah, it's just basically a slower process of learning how to be a man, how to love, and just making mistakes though.
That's good. That's good. And I definitely can feel that. And again, that's something that, like you said, we don't know. You know, you don't know whether it would have turned out positive or negative, but just that sheer fact that there was a possibility, you know, like there was a possibility that it could have been positive, you know, that leads to that what if, you know, type of factor. And so um I definitely feel that. And thank you for being transparent, honest. Um
Yeah.
Day, can you kind of elaborate on that, you know, aspect of just the things that you experienced and then also with
I
your
was
mom and
literally,
also your oldest?
I was literally throwing down on this chicken wrap, but I'll stop. What was the question?
Can you kind of just elaborate on like the things that like carved you into the person that you think that you are from your experiences?
Um, I think pretty straightforward. I was the oldest of the four of my or not four, there's three of my siblings, four of us in total. I was the oldest of the four of us, and I grew up with a single dad. So I very much like adopted a lot of like responsibilities and like maturity that I probably would have already had as an older sibling, and I'm a Leo, so it didn't really help. But just taking on like, I always assumed a really like motherly approach to my siblings and stuff like that, and I think that it transcends into the way that I navigate my relationships in general. I'm like, just feel very protective, and like I feel like my priorities in all of my relationship always start with like safety and like making sure the people that I am in relationship with feel like protected and safe when they're around me. And I just think that growing up with that responsibility and growing up with that like title in my family made it so that there were just certain luxuries that I didn't feel like I deserved to have. Like I didn't really, as a kid, think that I deserved to have as much fun as other kids, because I was like a mom in a sense, and like had to teach my sisters about girl stuff that nobody else would. So a lot of the stuff that I experienced, I more so like received them as like lessons that I was obligated to pass on to my siblings versus just like experiencing them as things that happened to me. And I still do that, but I don't think that it's necessarily a negative. I personally look at it as a positive, because I think that in all of who I am, I don't know, and maybe that's the negative. I was gonna say, I don't necessarily know who I would be if I wasn't like an older sister first, because it just feels like so ingrained into every like aspect of my personality and who I am and stuff.
You definitely. And
Kendrick said he had a question too. Sorry.
go ahead, Kendrick.
So I just wanted to know, like, it just literally crossed my mind when she was just talking. Like a lot of guys been telling me, of course, I have twin girls on the way. So they say, I'm the first man that they'll see, like the first man that they'll look up to. So it's kind of a question just going off track. Do y'all believe, especially women, do y'all believe like the way your father treats you or show you how a man should be, does that affect how you guys like choose a man? Or does it have nothing to do with it, no matter how good of a father, a man that he was to you, if I'm asking it?
Great.
Right.
Go ahead, Terica.
I can say that is definitely true. Just because growing up without a father, my dad, he died when I was only 6 months old. Well, he was killed. But just not, I wouldn't say that part, but having a granddad there when I did become, oh my God, my dog is doing too much. When I did become cognitive of like dating and like boyfriends and stuff, I felt like my granddad, he was there in that sense. So it was kind of like I saw certain things that he did, like Saturday mornings, he's up cutting the grass and he's doing certain things. And it's like, oh, that's what I want in a man. Like I don't want a man that don't do these things because my granddad has done these things. Like I can call him and I can express myself to him, and then he'll hang up. Hour later, my problem is now fixed. So certain things I do expect from a guy, and then it's vice versa as well. Like I was thinking as everyone was talking, like being the type of person that my biological daddy was, kind of like lived that street life, and he was killed at 21. I always pride myself like, yeah, I'm not dating no street guy. Like I base the type of men that I date, like I don't want to date a person like him, if that makes sense, because it's just like, my mama, she was a single mama and with 3 kids. And so it's just like, how do we survive? He was only 21. So Social Security checks was only $100 a month. And it's like, I don't want that for myself. So I try not to date guys that live that lifestyle. So I think it is a reflection on just how we date. Like we see the men in our lives and we can tell, okay, I want a man that does this because my daddy did this, or I don't want a man because my daddy was this way. So it's definitely, it definitely plays a role.
Kendrick, can you repeat your question for Desi and everybody else who need a reminder?
Yeah,
Wait,
sure.
wait. I heard Kendra's question. I was saying, Jay, your question, Jay.
My original question, I was just asking, like, you know, what are the things that happened in your life that created your image of yourself? So the way that you see yourself, the way that, you know, you feel like other people see you, what were the things or the moments or people, whatever the case may be, that created that image?
Got you. I'll answer after whoever goes next. I don't know. I know I couldn't
I got
somewhere.
you. I got you. All good. Fawn said before we get today's response to Kendrick's question, Fawn said that I'm moving around a lot and not staying in one place has molded me into who I am. Seeing a variety of different people and communities, also going through those moves as an only child and having to recreate relationships and friendships created who you are. And so we're going to elaborate on that too, Fawns, after Desi. But go ahead, Dave.
I forgot what I was gonna say. But I was going to say similar to, I think Terica was the last person that was talking. I think for me, I had a different experience because my dad was my only parent. So I feel like I automatically like took his word as law and just trusted everything that he like paved out for me. But I definitely think that it's dependent on the person that you are, and so who your twins will be, the way that they receive how you like parent them, and like how that will manifest into what they want out of a future partner or whatever. Because there are definitely qualities that I think on both good and bad that I received from my dad as this is something I don't want from my partner, and this is something that I do transparently. And I get so disgusted by this every single time I think about it. Jay is very similar to my dad in a lot of ways, like in a lot of foundational ways. But Jay also, in my opinion, is like a more, I don't know, there's just certain qualities about him that I can tell are like the foundation of who he is. I think I was drawn to because of my dad, but he has elevations and like self-reflection and things like that I don't get from him. So I think at a foundational level, there's a lot that you can pull from your parents when it comes to who you attract or who you're attracted to, I'm sorry. But I think it would be different if like we were parented by a generation of parents that were able to like self-reflect on their parenting skills and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see the difference in that and like being attracted to who your parents are and stuff like that in for our generation and like our children, because we have clearly shown to be, not saying that there won't be the few of us who won't, but we've clearly shown to be a generation that's like a lot more self-reflective and a lot more willing to like take accountability for flaws and like judgments and things like that. Because in a lot of ways, the things that my dad was not able to self-reflect on and everything like that are a lot of the qualities that I saw in a lot of the people early on in my dating life that I didn't like and that were really toxic. So I think in the beginning, it was like a really bad aspect of my dating life that eventually evolved to becoming a much stronger thing for me, where I was able to identify things that reminded me of flaws in my, not to just knock my dad, because he's a great man, but I always say my dad's a great man and he's a terrible partner. So I think there was good in the beginning or bad in the beginning, and then there was good in the long run. That's it.
Got you. Dree.
Hey guys, but I was gonna say, like, to answer kind of like both questions, I guess kind of all in one, because it didn't make me like reflect just everyone's answers. But like for me, something that molded me like to make me who I am with growing up is my mom. Like my mom was a single mom. So, and I have an older brother, but like the way that me and my older brother grew up, because my mom had him when she was 20, most of like his parenting when he was young came from my grandmother. So for me, a lot of my childhood, and even now, sometimes I feel like I'm the only child. I feel like I'm the responsible child. I'm very independent. I'm very like strong-willed. I'm very much so like, no, I'll figure it out on my own, you know, which is much of like how my mom's personality is. And like just growing up and just seeing her like work so hard, I'm like, yeah, okay, I want to work hard. I want to have the things I want to have, and I want to do great in life because, you know, this is who I am. Like she really depended on me a lot to be who I am, because my brother, like, he would just be doing his own thing. But with me, she's like, okay, with Dree, I can count on her. She's dependable. She independent. She can get her work done. I don't have to worry. So I would definitely say that translates to who I am today. Like, I'm very independent. I'm very much so like, don't worry about it. If you want to do it, I'll do it. Like, it'll get done and it'll be right. But also with that, like something that also molded me, I would say my mom is very much so the opposite of me in relationships. My mom is very much so like, she's almost too independent to a fault. Like to a fault where she'd be like, she, you know, shuts down when she has to communicate, or like she, you know, shuts down when she has to ask for help. Whereas, and also she doesn't really like to talk to people. Like something I would say when I was growing up, I'd always see people after church, you know, they talking to each other. I'm like, Mom, like, how come we never stay after church and talk to people? And she's just like, you know, it's just not really my thing. Like, it's not that I don't love people. I just don't really want to be social. But y'all know that is not who I am. Like, I want to talk to people. I want to meet new people. I want to make relationships. Like, I want to be everybody's friend. But like, my mom is not like that. Very much so, like, absolutely not. 0 out of 10, not doing that. So I think part of that, because she's so like not out there, that makes me want to be out there and like, I want to meet the people. I want to talk to people.
Mm.
But there's that. And then also to like Kendrick's point, like, well, Kendrick's question, I didn't grow up like with my father. So for me, like with my husband, with Teddy, it's not only important it was not only important for me to be married and then have children afterwards and have that father in my child's life, but also it matters to me the quality of the father that he is. So like, okay, cool, like, yes, you provide for us, yes, you come home and like take care of us, but like, are you reading to our daughter? Are you talking to her? What kind of relationship are you building with her? Because I think for me it was not only like, okay, you can be present, but I also, growing up, I also went to private school, and I was like, oh, this must be great. Like, I didn't see, you know, y'all got dads in y'all lives, you know, that's fun. But I actually had a conversation with one of my friends, and she was like, yeah, like, he's around, but he works so much, he's never there. We don't have a relationship. And so that's something I also didn't want. So I definitely would say, like, the quality, not only like you being there is important, but also the quality of the relationship that you build is also important. Because yeah, like right now with my dad, but my stepdad, he's present in my life. He, like, when I was in labor, he's texting me. He was working night shift, texting me like, hey, how's it going? You okay? And that, like, it was no amount of money can measure up to that for me. Like, for him to just text me and say, hey, you okay? I'm like, dang, like, I know you're my stepdad, but you really care about me. So, but yeah, I'm off my soapbox now.
No, you could. And I think that's very important. Like Najari just put that not just being present but available. I think that, and you can apply that to anything, you know, like even down to our faith. You know, we can be present and be like, oh yeah, I believe in Jesus, or like, you know, I'm a Christian, but being available, you know, the availability is that step that's past, you know, just saying I'm here. Like, just being on a Bible study is nothing if you're not being available to one, even, you know, hearing out what the Bible study is about to be talking about, or even taking a step further in expressing. I know, like, you know, everybody's not expressive, which is fine. And it's not no like harm if you aren't. But I think that that level of expression is where God can use to give you a form of revelation through what you're saying, the transparency that you have with communicating and expressing in a space that is unfamiliar, uncomfortable. Because a lot of it, all of us, we're going through something, you know what I'm saying? All of us have certain situations and things that have molded us, created us, the traumas that we've experienced, the perspective that we have, that if we hold it in, we're not only doing a disservice to ourselves in the growth aspect of it, but we're also possibly hindering a breakthrough or delivery through your testimony. And so that availability part is very important. And I think, again, in the fatherly role, a parent role, that's the most important. And that's where this start comes, because everything that we've kind of talked about, you know, overall has came down to the perspective we once got from the very beginning. Where we start with our parents. You know, we came in, our parents didn't do, here, wasn't here. And that's the thing that has created how we view, even if we're the strongest of minded people, we still have a level of shift in thought due to how our parents operated around us, what our parents said to us, what our parents didn't do. And it has shaped how you view the entire world going forward, whether you believe it or not, it has. Fonz, I wanted to get into your point because I think that that perspective is very important to talk about too. And then after that, we're going to get into Desi. But Fonz, talk about just like what you put inside the chat as far as moving around, being different places, having to adjust and adapt while also being an only child.
Yeah, so growing up, I moved 6 times to 4 different states. And so with that, I got the opportunity to see a lot of different types of people, live in a lot of different types of communities. And actually, I was mostly in the Midwest, so Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, and then I came to Georgia. And so when I came to Georgia, that was a completely like total like reality check and just culture shock for me. Just for one, being in, you know, the Midwest, it's not too many of us in the places that I was in. So I had a lot of classes where I was one of the few Black people there, but I did have a lot of like Black teachers and stuff like that because I lived in like a mixed community in Indiana. So yeah, I had a lot of friends who had one Black parent, one white parent type thing. And then when I came to Georgia, it was a bunch of Black people. So I didn't really know how to operate in that aspect where like it was beautiful to me, but it was also like different because white people here are a little bit different from the white people in Indiana that I grew up with. So I had different things I had to deal with, like with racism for real in a sense that was blatant, whereas it was kind of closeted in the communities that I was in before. And then also with the whole rebuilding relationship things, I had friends like when I was coming to Atlanta, I had friends that were so excited about me coming down here because this is around the time when Usher had just dropped Yeah and all that stuff. And so Atlanta was popping. Everybody was like, oh, you're going to meet all these different celebrities and stuff like that. And I'm just like, I don't want to go down there because I don't want to go down there. And then it's just me. So every time we're moving, I got to go meet new kids, find out what they like, find out what the community is like. So it was totally different. And then I was playing sports too, so I had to get adjusted to what it's like playing down here versus like what it's like playing where I was from, stuff like that. So it was just different. And it was like hard for me because it's not like I could go like talk to a brother or sister about like what I'm feeling with the move. I had to go talk to my parents. And it's like not a problem with talking to my parents, but you don't always want to do that. You kind of want to relate to somebody who's of the same mindset and same age and different things of that nature. So I think that's something that it was tough for me, but I think it made me, it gave me a world perspective and a world view of different things.
Good. Ultimately, do you think that, like, the perspective and the situation that you went through were more so positive, or reflecting back, you wish they were different? Like, do you wish that you was more stable in situations, or do you appreciate the time frame that you moved and everything?
I think I more so appreciate it now, more so than I did when I was younger, because when I was younger, I hated it. I hated having to leave every couple of years. That wasn't fun for me. But now as I grow up, I'm looking at the fact that I got to see so many different aspects of life. So now that I just feel like I'm more cultured now because I've seen different people in different areas and different aspects of life, different economic statuses and stuff like that too. So I have a greater appreciation for seeing not only like our country but the entire world now. And that's something I kind of want my family that I do have in the future to see as well.
That's dope. That's dope. I feel that. Okay. And Desi, go ahead and bring us home. What's up?
Can y'all hear me?
Now,
Okay. So I personally feel like, well, that I was raised off of survival. I also grew up an only child, and pretty much with that, I grew up not close to my mother or my father. So I grew up in a house where I was not close to my mom, and my dad left when I was 2. And then with that, I've moved over about, I want to say 20 times in my whole life. So I just feel like it molded me to feel like with my relationships moving forward, I feel like they're not gonna be permanent. They're not gonna last. I think it makes me personally cling to like the quality time I have with people. Like cherishing, like really cherishing spending time with people. But I also feel like I always feel like nobody's gonna be there or stay there, whether it's friendship, family, whatever. Because that's just how I was raised. I guess not being close to either of my parents. And for like I'm still like, I guess not really close to my mother at all. As far as with my father, I guess like I think to Kendrick's point, I think it's very important of how you raise your child, because I grew up with a dad, even though he wasn't in my life at 2, he was the type of parent that just always gave money. He always sent extra money, but to me, it was like, well, you weren't there. You weren't there at my sporting events. You weren't there at my graduation, prom, like, just significant moments of my life. You weren't there, but he sent money. So I think, you got to be very critical about making sure you're spending that time. And I think, let me slow down. But I definitely think that it molds who you are, and like a trust factor of individuals. And for the longest, I'll say I do have siblings on my dad's side, but I never got closer to them until I got probably like a few years ago. And so for the long
oh, it went mute.
Okay, sorry. I thought that my siblings, because they lived in the house with my dad. So I was like, oh, y'all got it good. I know he be coming to y'all stuff. I know he be there. And they told me kind of similar to what somebody else said on the call. Like, he was there, but he wasn't really there. They was like, he lived in the house with us, but he still didn't come to our events either. He still wasn't. And I was like, oh, dang. Like, so I almost didn't have a relationship with my siblings because I'm thinking, oh, y'all have it better than me. Like, y'all go here. And I had to realize, no, they went places because their mom allowed them to go places, And so I had to, like, it made me and my siblings closer, but I wonder what would have happened if I never had that conversation with them and figured that out. And then the last point I'll make is how it has affected me with me having a child. I think now, like, I'm not with my child's father anymore, but I'm real big on like, because of what I went through, I'm like, make sure you're spending quality time with Kylie. I don't care about your money. Like Like, don't get, I'm real bit, like, I'm not wanting that to happen to her where she doesn't have a relationship with him. And like, he's just like, well, I pay for her day. I'm really like instilling him, like, I don't care if we're together or not, just like have a relationship with her, like talk to her, like genuinely do. So I think that's part of my own personal trauma that I probably just don't want her to go through. But overall, I think from the, I guess, original question that was posed was, I definitely think, you know, it, for me personally, it is hard to let people, well, I wouldn't say let people in. It's hard to believe that people will stay once I let them in, just based off of my past. And it's hard to think that things will be permanent and stay, because like I said, I'm always moving and always going, well, when I was younger, I was always moving and going through different things. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh, that's beautifully said. And I think that you segued amazingly into like what we was about to say, because I think that with everything that we go through, with every experience and in every situation, again, it shapes how you look and perceive everything. And so, for instance, like Desi, you were saying with your siblings, like if you wasn't able to get that conversation with them in that perspective, their perspective, then your perspective on them and their relationship with him would have been this negative perspective of y'all have it better than me, versus what the reality is, we're one and the same. And even with every single one of you all like sharing and expressing, majority of y'all never knew that about said person that was talking, like there was a level of perspective that was grown even in this last 30 minutes of y'all talking and communicating through y'all upbringings and y'all traumas, y'all like positive, situations, whatever, that have now given you a level of perspective of, oh, okay, I can see that now. You know what I'm saying? With somebody that can possibly be friends inside the group, you can be like, oh, like, I didn't even realize that about you, but that makes sense off of how we've talked or how we communicated or we functioned, whatever the case may be. You just never know. Like, and that's the whole thing, again, that the enemy uses as a tactic majority of the time is the separation, the separation and the division, because it's easy for all of us to walk on the street, not know each other, pass each other, cut somebody off in traffic, and then now you upset at each other. But the fact that we're able to be in this space, talking to each other, getting the perspective and the idea, then you have a lot more empathy or sympathy for somebody because of that. And I think that that's one of the grand schemes that God has for us inside the world, is the ability, one, to have empathy, but to seek out that perspective when it comes to just the image of his body. Like, we are all in the image of a whole full-fledged body. Like, some people are the arm, some people are legs, some people are the chest, whatever the case may be, but we all are on the same body. But however we go through life, like, we're different bodies, and this is team body over here, but we're not the same team over here. And that's division, and that's something that he doesn't want from us. And say that again.
I was about to say real quick, I was going to say, I agree with what you're saying as well, because I never knew that my siblings, just from having a conversation, I never knew that they looked at me like, because like, I guess I graduated pretty much top of my class, like in college, and like, but I had this other, like, they didn't even know, like, my own siblings didn't know, like, I've lived in a car before, like, I've been homeless. So like, they didn't know that, like, oh, dang, like, they thought, like, in their eyes, perceiving of me, like, oh, we thought you were straight because you always making good grades, and they're always bragging about, like, you're accomplishing. And I was like, I think they're bragging on the accomplishments because of what I've been through. And so I think, to what you're saying, to not to cut off again, but just to say, like, you don't even know how people perceive of you. Some people might think, like, you have everything so good. So I think it's also good sometimes to share.
Exactly. And literally, and that's what we're saying, like, because again, we all have an image, like how for those who came in later, we said that all of us have an image. You know, we all possess an image. That image was either curated by ourselves through our experiences and who we are and what we made ourselves out to be, or that image was projected onto us from, you know, other people. And a lot of times we struggle with our image because we don't know who we are as individuals. Like a lot of us, especially, you know, 20 somethings, we're going through life trying to figure out who we are as individuals. We go through 12, 13 years, whatever, of, you know, grade school, including kindergarten. Then, you know, you go into college where you're taught curriculum over and over and over. And then you get out into the real world and it's expected to have it all together, have a job straight out of college, have, you know, a house, apartment, whatever the case may be, and do life. And not realizing that those are some of the most pivotal times. Not only are you going through school, but you're also dealing with things, you know, as an individual. Fonz said he moved 6 times. Desi said she moved like 20 times, you know, and so it's like having all of that happening at the same time while you're also trying to figure out who you are as an individual is hard at times. And we don't allow ourselves to have the grace of understanding that people are people and they go through certain things that have created them into that image that you might see or you might have experienced. And so again, the first point for those who wasn't in here was our image. We all have an image that image was created from our circumstances, our environment that we were in, the opportunities that we had, and the engagement that we interacted with. These things created our perspective. The perspective shifted how we look at the world around us and the people that are in it. Then secondly, the image of seeing others. So again, if we're using this metaphorical theme of a house, right? And we are in the month of May, and in May, we're talking about windows. Just like how we said in the beginning of the intro, you either are looking into that house or you're in the house looking outside of the house, right? And so there's 2 types of people inside your life. There's the people who are inside the house with you, and it's the people, how those people see you. And then it's also the people that are outside of the house that see you looking in. Majority of us, you know, we have a lot of people on the outside of our house seeing us in, you know, because it's hard for a lot of people. I'm not going to say everybody, but it's hard for a lot of people to just let everybody be inside of your house. You know, you got your family, your close family, you have your close friends that probably are inside the house with you. And so, right, like all of our houses should be renovated. But it can definitely show you, like, again, how people perceive you that are on the opposite end of the window and on the inside. Now, when we're talking about interacting and engaging with people, and you have those moments where you're really hurt by people, like the people that hurt you the most. Majority of the time, the people that hurt you the most are the people on the inside of that window that are experiencing life with you. That can be a partner in a relationship. That can be a parent. That can be a friend. These are the core people that majority of the time, their opinion about you matters a lot more than the opposite side, you know, cares. Like somebody can say, you ugly, you know, and you don't even give them a care in the world. But if your mom or your boyfriend or your girlfriend said you ugly, it hurts 10 times harder because you know that they're inside the house with you. And so their thoughts or their perception of you hits a lot different than the people who are on the outside. And why is this? You know, why is this? Why? And this can be rhetorical or you can answer it. You know, if you have a question you have an answer on why that is, I would love to hear, why do you think the people that are on the inside with us and their perspective of us and our perception shape our thoughts a lot more than the people outside? Or do you even believe that? Do you believe that the outside like has just as much impact on how you think about yourself as the inside? I want to hear from you. Do you believe that the outside matters? Do you believe people's outside opinion of you matters more than the people that are inside the house with you? Or do you think that the inside people matter the most? Kalia says, I'm gonna get to Kendrick and Key, but Kalia real quick said, because those are the people that were the most comfortable and vulnerable with, so their opinion carries weight. Okay, I agree. Who was first between Kendrick and Key? Kendrick, what's up?
You could go ahead. Ladies first.
Appreciate you. I feel like the people closest to me matter the most. And I often, like, if I'm facing a situation, I go to those people and I ask them, like, am I wrong? Like, what is your perspective on the matter by knowing me and seeing me? I feel like also sometimes at this point, I would say, like, when it comes to my really close friends and my partner, if they say something's wrong, I'm like, all right, y'all probably right, because I know I'm raggedy, you know? So I definitely would, yeah, I'm always am I tripping, or just trying to just gain more perspective on the matter. Like, because I know I'm not going to always be right. But like Kalia said, those are the people who know me beyond the surface level. So I would trust their opinions rather than somebody who I've only known for 2 weeks. And they're like, girl, you wrong. I'm going to hear you, but I'm probably not going to internalize that, because you don't know my way of thinking, my tendencies, all of the things that kind of make me who I am.
Yeah, and I agree. Holly and I, the same person, you know, when it comes to that. Things just kind of, I'm a am I tripping type of person. Sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't. Yeah, honest, but hey, Kendrick.
I think for me it's like half and half. I think like it hurts when the people inside your life, because they know the real you more than outsiders do. So sometimes it'll make me feel like you must be telling the truth. But then it's like another half is like for example, so I've been on my weight loss journey. So if my wife or my mom be like, "Yeah, you losing weight," I'll just be like, "It's whatever. Y'all just saying it just to say it, just to hype me up." But then if an outsider be like, "Oh yeah, okay, I see you," then it's like, "Okay, I must really be doing something then." So I guess it's like, and that was just a like more simple example, but I think it's just half and half sometimes, depending on the situation.
That's interesting you said that, because I was going to speak on that too. Because isn't it crazy that, like, you can hear something from the people that are closest to you or you're the most comfortable around, but it doesn't hold as much weight as a stranger, like, you know, saying the exact same thing. Like, I know, for instance, me being an older sibling, right? I tell my brothers or whatever, I tell them to do something, or I don't think that this is a good idea, or like, you know, that shirt sucks, you know, like, you know, whatever the case may be. And they're just like, oh, man, like, you being a hater or da da da. But somebody else can say the exact same thing and they be like, dang, for real. And they act like you ain't say nothing before that. Like, you ain't have no opinion on the same thing. Like, I think it's just interesting that we do that as individuals when we get comfortable with people, because we see people, we engage with them all the time, and it's not at, because you think that, like, oh, they're just saying that because they're a sad person. Like, that's just my mom, that's my girlfriend, that's my brother, whatever. But
Yeah, like I could tell people like for example, I could say, yeah, you should invest in stocks because I invest. But they might look at it like, oh, man, he still work a job. He don't know what he talking about. And I do music too, so they might still look at it like, he don't know what he talking about. He just. But then let Lil Baby or Migos or somebody say, yeah, man, y'all should invest. They gonna go head in and like, yeah, they say we need to invest.
It's crazy, bro. That's how people move. What's up, Key?
It's interesting you bring this up, because this is something that I literally have trouble with, because the people that are really closest to me, they'll be like, man, like,
you did this wrong. But then I think it's, for me, I think it's repetition. It's not necessarily like the random stranger is the one that like makes it stick and settle in. I just think that if I hear the same thing repeatedly, then it's like, all right, cool. You know, and I feel like ultimately it has to do with your level of trust in people. Because some of my closest friends, I don't, when they tell me some certain things, I'm like, I'm not listening to you because you are not wise in this area. You know what I mean? So I feel like it has to, a lot of it has to do with your trust too.
Yeah, and I do believe that. I think that, like, you know, even in it's the counsel, you know, like the Bible talks about, you know, having wise counsel. Like, you know, I think Proverbs like 20, 12, 15, we're in Proverbs inside that Bible plan. And, you know, it says, you know, like, the way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice from a counsel, you know, and just being able to have people inside your life that you can lean on, that you know, I can call them at any given time and they're going to be real with me and they're going to tell me the right way, and not just the way that I need to hear or want to hear, but actually the way I have to digest. And I think that sometimes, I'm gonna wait for that. I'm gonna get to that point later on point 3. But I think that, you know, we're looking at this again in the lens of just being a regular individual, right? Like, we're looking at this as being a human, flesh of flesh, where we all experience perspective, like we said in the first one. We all have an image, and we all see others the way that, you know, they're projected, whether that is the positive projections that we internalize or the negative projections that we internalize, and then we form our opinion on other people. We have people inside our house that hit a lot different than the people outside of our house. But, you know, this is inevitable. You know what I'm saying? As an individual, as a human being, we're all experiencing this. However, when you become a new believer and you shift, when you become a Christian, there's a shift. And so your image should shift with who you are. Even if you wasn't doing anything, you know what I'm saying? Let's say like you was very wholesome and stuff before you shifted and became a believer, whatever the case may be, there's still a level of shift that should happen in your identity that comes from being a believer in Christ. A believer in Christ is not just somebody that does good deeds and doesn't like murder nobody and then just gets a ticket to heaven. There's a level of work. There's a level of intentionality. There's a level of projection that you have to move in order to, you know, really like solidify and walk in the way that Christ wants us to walk in. And the way that we see each other and the way that others see us is going to change and be different. I can tell you right now, this is the part that I'm struggling with extensively, because I feel like once I've made that switch and that change inside my own personal life, the things that, you know, the things that I engage in are different. You know, before 2020, I was not on any Bible study. I wasn't doing Bible study consistently. I wasn't reading the Bible consistently. You know, I wasn't really in church for real, super consistently. I grew up in church, but that was just not where I was in college. Like, my college life was very lit. It's Cinco de Mayo, I would be drunk on my butt, blacked out somewhere right now. Like, being honest, like years of that, where that was my image that started to become my image. I was the lit guy, you know what I'm saying? I was the person that was inside college doing sad things, whatever the case may be. And so people in my circle, you know what I'm saying, even family, you know what I'm saying, like they would know like, oh, well, you know, that's just Jay, you know, whatever the case may be, because they knew that that was the image that I had. So now that I've made a shift inside my life, things are just different to me now. Like, me and Key was talking about it before y'all got on. Low key, I forgot it was Cinco de Mayo. You know what I'm saying? Like, to be honest with you, because I was like, oh, it's Thursday, got Bible study. You know what I'm saying? Because that's my first thought. My thoughts, my perspective changed. And when my thoughts and perspective changed, there were certain people that celebrated that, but majority of it that I'm going through are wrestling with that. So now there's a level of tension that I'm experiencing, not only in my friendships, but in my family dynamics, where people have attached the identity that they know me as before I made this shift to now being like, the person I am now is completely different from that. So because it's completely different, then now it's a problem. And now we're wrestling and tugging with it. And you know what I'm saying? It's harder, it's easier to cut off friends and stuff, but it's harder to do that with family members. It's harder to do that with people you know your entire life, or whatever the case may be. And so that's why it's harder for me for when we're talking about how people see you in the house versus how people see you out the house, because when you're in the house, you would think that people that are in the house with you know you enough to know, what you're going through in your house. However, it's worse when you feel like the people that are in the house with you aren't understanding what you're, dealing with in the house as well. And so it's a hard, chess match, because it's like having, a spouse inside your house that don't even know what your middle name is, like that kind of feels like, dang, bro, like how, or you have a job, you just got a job and your spouse don't even know that you have a new job, and so it feels like somebody doesn't even know who you are. That's a hard thing to struggle with or wrestle with when these are the people that are closest with you. Desi, go ahead and get a point, and then I got you, Key. Desi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I'm still driving home.
You good.
So I really had a question. And I hope it's not like too personal to you and they, but I wanted to know, like, how did that, like, because you said like when you were in college, and that that's when you weren't the same person you are now. How did you how did y'all deal with that in y'all relationship, like, with finding, with you finding a girl, or even if they want to answer about finding a guy like that, or how did y'all transition that with this relationship now, like with y'all transition of, your Christian journey, I guess, and, just changing so much, I guess in the last, I think you said a year or two. And then like, how is that now, like with maintaining, because I'm sure like y'all both have y'all are in a relationship, but two, like now y'all interests are different now, and y'all have friends who probably knew y'all before, and now that's changed. So I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to figure out, how do you navigate that through a relationship in simple terms?
No, that's a great question. And Day, she can answer if she wants to as well. And Key, please remember your question or your point. But I know for me, I met Day in the last wave of my college experience. So I was about to graduate or whatever. It's like the last 2 semesters of my college life. And so these were like the peak times for me. And so that was not my thought process at all. You know what I'm saying? Like I was attracted to Day. I wanted to be with Day or whatever the case may be, but I also was struggling with letting go my life, because there was a level of, man, like if I get into a relationship, all of this shuts down, and that fear, it became like a fear where I was like, man, like, is it worth, like, what's worth what, and that was something that, truthfully and transparently, I struggled with a long time. Pride, my ego, my love for attention in that type of capacity. Shut up. My love for attention in that capacity, my love for women. I had a vice for women, you know what I'm saying? So like being able to really navigate and actually let that go, that was hard for me. And so going into a relationship, I didn't fix those things before I got into a relationship. I just thought that the relationship, getting into the relationship, was going to make it hard stop, and I'm just not going to do that. When in reality, it didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? My mentality still was the same, but I was trying to just operate and be like, well, I know I'm not going to cheat, so I'm not going to, you know what I'm saying? So like, I had that boundary with still the same mentality that I had. And you know, we went through a lot of hell, you know what I'm saying? Like still be experiencing hell like to this day, just off of bad choices and decisions that I made previously, you know what I'm saying? Like, and where it sucks because it's like I'm a new person and I feel like I'm a new individual and I don't do the same things, but I still have to like, you know, wrestle and tackle like old demons that come up. But that's my choice, or that was my choice at the time. And that was the thing that led to me being in this type of like capacity. And for all of y'all, like, you know, like God give us free will to do any and everything. Like he literally says, like, you can do any, I'm sorry, I got automatic lights. We can do any and everything that we want in the world. Like you can literally do anything. However, everything's not good for you. And I was somebody that I was self-serving, where I was just like, man, I want things that are good to my flesh, my spirit, or whatever. And I'm gonna just live in my flesh. And that affected her, that affected our relationship. And we had to tackle a lot of insecurities, a lot of battles, communication wise. Then you throw in the fact that like you become a new believer, and now the things that you feel like, you know, there's a level of insecurity of like, okay, do this person still like me now that I'm a born again Christian, you know what I'm saying? Or does this person still accept me in these type of capacities? Like I'm growing in this way. I don't desire these things. I desire these things. So it's like, it's a struggle. But what I appreciate through our relationship is through it all, we've been able to communicate through it. Communication was the most important part of that, because she was able to express to me how she felt in every regard. And I had to learn to listen and not to defend. And I'm still learning how to do that. It's a very, you know, because you want to defend yourself, you are yourself, but being able to, you know, be honest and let somebody tell how they feel while also making a safe space for somebody else opens the door to being vulnerable, communicating that type of capacity, and growing not only as a relationship, but as a believer, you know, in the same capacity for Day. And again, she can speak for herself with it, but both of our relationships with God happen in different capacities and in different time frames. And so trying to adjust and adapt while also not, you know, making anybody feel like, you know, they have to do something or couldn't do something or need to do something. It was just a hard thing that it's like a dance. You have to learn how not to step on each other's toes when it comes to that. So I'm gonna shut up. I'm gonna let you, you know, say your piece. Yeah.
I think from my perspective, one, I believe in like total transparency. I feel like if you're not totally transparent with people, they're not able to learn from you. So I'm really transparent and open when people ask questions about the relationship that we've had, because our relationship in no way has been a straight line, not even a roller coaster, because a roller coaster is still safe to get on. And I think that has been very like up and down and all over the place. And there's so many lessons that have been packed into the 4 years that we've been together. When we first started dating, like he said, he was in his last year. I was in my first year. Don't recommend. But because, like I said, I grew up as the oldest sibling, and I grew up like very like ingrained into this like motherly role. I have always naturally gravitated towards older crowds of people, because I just feel like I didn't really get like a childhood in a sense, or at least like mentality wise. I've always operated, I feel like, several years ahead of where I am. So when I got to college, Jay literally is my first and only boyfriend that I've ever had in my entire life. Literally ever. When I got to college, before we started dating, I've always been really intentional about relationships that I get into, and I never wanted to be in a relationship with someone that I didn't see myself being with long term. And so I was very serious about, was this somebody that I could see myself being with for more than just a season of college? Because otherwise, personally, I didn't want to waste my time having somebody be able to say they dated me and we didn't even last. I think I got really lucky in that, because the reality of it was Jay was not ready for that, and I was ready for something that wasn't aligned with where we were at. I tell people all the time, I wouldn't recommend the process that we went through in dating, and I would not recommend for someone to seek out the type of relationship that we had at the beginning, because we were on two totally different ideas of what a relationship looked like. I personally was like dating to marry from the very beginning of our relationship, because I'm so intentional, and I grew up with parents that they didn't really love each other, and so they weren't together forever. And so I was just like set in stone the idea that you're gonna love somebody and that's the person you're gonna be with. That was not Jay. Jay was very much like, I'm gonna date whoever I want, and I'm gonna date 3 people and see which one I like the best, and then I'm gonna figure out the rest. And I'm gonna date my music and not settle down with anyone and all of that. So in the beginning of our relationship, it really was just about us even figuring out like, what were we even doing in the first place? And then on top of that, like he said, we didn't have strong relationships with God. So ultimately, it was irrelevant anyways. Like, we were learning a bunch of stuff that really didn't matter. And ultimately, like, those first few years aren't the years that we look back on to like show us anything about our relationship, because it was totally different once we started having our own relationships and our faith. When we first like started going back to church, we started building our own like faith and our own relationships with God again. And we took a break that summer. Like, we broke up for a summer because we just weren't on the same page, not even spiritually, just like we had a lot of communication blockages and things like that. And I think that time allowed us to be able to center ourselves again in our faith and in our relationships. And ultimately, we came out of it in a much more healthy relationship, not because of the fact that we took a break and we had time away from each other, but because of the fact that we came back having like expectations in our faith and having conversations with God about the stuff that we were dealing with, versus yelling at each other or talking to each other. And even if it was in a healthy light, like, it just, the conversations we were having before were irrelevant because we weren't having the conversations with God. And so it was just 2 people who didn't know what they were doing trying to have conversation. I think for me, and it's gonna sound like I'm just perfect, but I'm not perfect, but I think that like our relationship took a huge turn when Jay's relationship with God got really strong. And I mean that because of the fact that I think that in our relationship, something I also had to get more comfortable with, and I don't believe that this is like everyone's reality. I'm very much an independent Black woman. But I think that Jay got to a place in a strength in his relationship with God that I was not at. And so it gave him the ability to be a shepherd in our relationship. And that really became a stronghold for us, because I found that as someone who has been very independent my whole life and has always led others, led my siblings, led my friends, etc., that I respond better to having somebody that can lead me and direct me. But Jay also had to learn how to lead and direct other people through leading me, because I'm like the hardest person ever to lead, because I also still to this day don't like men telling me what to do. So I think that it made us a lot stronger to see Jay speak life into other people, be able to translate what he was saying to other people to myself. Like, when I first joined the Bible study, I didn't join at first because I didn't want to be in the space. I want to allow him to be able to have space to shepherd into others. But ultimately, I ended up joining because I wanted to hear how he spoke to other people and what he was saying to others be indirectly speaking to me. But again, that's not everybody's reality. Everybody's relationship doesn't have to be their husband shepherding over them in the most traditional Christian valued way. But I think that has been the thing that has made our relationship so much stronger. Like he said, we're still not perfect. We literally probably argued last week about communication. So we're still working through all of that. But ultimately, we've gotten to a place where we can step away from our conversations, talk to God, and then come back and have a much more clear head where I'm able to release and like relinquish all of my feelings and emotions over to God and let Jay take a leadership role in something that ultimately is not because he's the man in our relationship, but it's because as a follower of Christ, Jay has a shepherding like theme. Like that is who he is as a follower, which is not, I'm not a pastor. I'm not a Bible study leader. I think that my faith transcends in other ways. And so when we allow our strengths in our faith to be our strengths in our relationship, that's when we are the strongest. So yeah. And pink bag. Mic drop.
That was good, man.
Speechless. Thank you. You definitely answered the question.
Good question. Go ahead, Keith.
It's the pink bag tonight. It definitely is. I have nothing to say. Wow, that was good. I loved all of that. Yeah. Highlight points. It's about choices and decisions at the end of the day. You got to choose to evolve and grow with people. So I just loved all that.
Go ahead, Kendrick. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to it, just with, especially with what you were saying. I think for me, going back to even with the parents talk, like me not having my father and my mom being so busy, I didn't know how to love. I didn't know how to talk. Like I didn't grow up in a house where it's like, hey, how was school today? How are you feeling? You know, so like when it came to me dating, it was just like I'm looking up to what I'm seeing in my neighborhood and what these rappers are talking about. You know, I'm gonna just be honest. So for me, I definitely did a lot of playing around, even my early marriage days.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like I did get married too. I won't say too young. I just wasn't ready.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had text in the chat, I was ready for love. Like I wanted somebody to love me, but I didn't want to just let go of all the women that I was dealing with. Also, I think I wanted love, but I wanted to be a player at the same time. Like if I could have both, I think at the time I definitely would have went for it.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God she was patient and waited for me and let me grow and evolve into who I am now. Definitely not the same person that I was before, but it did take a lot of time and a lot of, because like I said, I didn't know how to love. I seen, you know, please don't judge my mom, but growing up, I seen my mom kind of like, she never had a straight boyfriend. Like, hey, this is my man, and he stayed around for years. My mom, I seen her with different guys, so that also affected me. It was just like I never seen nobody treat my mom like a queen, so I'm not gonna treat nobody like a queen. I didn't know how. So it definitely was a lot of trial and error with me getting into like actually loving somebody. And I'm not perfect. I still make mistakes, not cheating. It's just I'm still learning like how to be that guy too though.
No, definitely, bro. And I relate to all of that too, because again, kind of same scenario, but different in the sense, like, you know, I live with my mom, never seen my mom happy. You know, she was in a long-term relationship and like situationships or whatever, but it never was like something that was healthy and secure. Meanwhile, my dad was in a marriage, and visiting over there, it just felt like the Cosby. So it's like I didn't feel like that was attainable. I felt like it was perfect. So it's like, and then I also took that into my relationships where I was like, if you don't look like my dad and my stepmom, then like it's gonna fail, you know? And so that bled into my relationship, you know, and I was like, oh, like this is struggle, you know what I'm saying? I'm struggling over here, like I want to leave, you know, or this is getting frustrating or whatever. I don't want to stay around for this. But in reality, it was just my dad shielding me away from seeing their, you know, issues or whatever. I never saw them argue. I never saw them like go through things. So it's like I just felt like they didn't argue. And I felt like that was like a soulmate. So it's like they was, you know, they were the perfect people for each other. And I was looking for that. And that's not what reality is always. And so it's conflict in everything. But go ahead, Dave.
I was just gonna say that I say all of that and also add that like I don't speak about our relationship as it should be anybody's like goal or like it should be inspiration for anything, because I also am a firm, like a strong believer in the idea, and Jay probably gets tired of me saying this, that Black women should like experience love without trauma in the beginning, or like should be able to have love without enduring like pain or enduring like toxicity and all of those things. Not to just say that our relationship in the beginning was just violent or in any way like toxic beyond measure, but it's a very nuanced and difficult challenge when it comes to dating, because on the one hand, there is a lot of beauty that can come in some instances when you have patience and when you can grow with someone beyond their faults, but that's not always everyone's reality, and that shouldn't be everyone's path to endure all of these things before they get the love that they're supposed to receive. And so I think that that is one of the things that if you are single and have faith, that you have a strong kind of like leveraging point, in that like I wish I would have had strong faith when I first started out in my relationship, because I think that I would have had the strength to step away from a lot that I really didn't want to endure, but I didn't have anything else to lean on. So I think like being single in a season where you're also really strong in your faith and having conversations with God gives you a lot of leverage to see a lot of self-value and understand that there's opportunities outside of ones that are traumatizing.
Agreed. So Keith.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. What it made me think about is my mom, because like depending on, I don't know if y'all know people like this, maybe it's just my mom, but depending on the seasons, like my mom will switch out part of like the home decor, or like in our old house, I don't know, she just got sick of like how it was, and I think it speaks to how Kendrick was talking about how his house is being renovated. In terms of just having the patience to like really go through that with people, because you can be on the inside, but it's like when things are getting gutted out and like changed around, that's not a cool process. It's not fun at all. And then it's like you have to have the willingness to want to stick around, but also the patience to know that there's just going through a transformative period. You know what I mean? And that takes a lot. And honestly, it's hard because it's like, you really got to gauge, is this somebody that I'm supposed to be doing this with? Is this like, what is going on? You know? So I feel like that could be really difficult. But I just wanted to add that in.
Oh, definitely. And I think that it can also be difficult. I think one of the things that when we were talking about like vetting, you know, the situation is this person, one, holding themselves accountable? You know what I'm saying? You can learn the pedigree of people by one, do they hold themselves accountable? Are they open to growth? Are they open to criticism? But then also like just habit and pattern. Like you have to see, like, you know, God dispel the idea that everyone has to wait on their partner. Yes, because I don't believe that, you know, anymore. I think that people get into places where they feel like they can build their partner. And so like you will be like, I see the potential, and we fall in love with the potential of who said person can be. And we have an idea or an image of what they are or what they will be. And then we try to make them into that image, when in reality, which is my last point, the only person that can make your image what it really supposed to be is God. You know what I'm saying? Because God already told us that we were made in his image. He already established what that looks like and how we should walk through that. Good night. See you later. Thank you again for the conversation and the question. But we have to get to places where we're not the person that we think that we're the architect of somebody. Like, because in reality, if you continue to have that mindset about trying to make somebody into the image of what you want them to make, you're going to fail every single time, and you're going to disappoint yourself every single time. And you're going to get frustrated because you're going to think that, why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? I can build a house. I can build, you know what I'm saying, a door. I can build a computer. I can build a car, but I can't build this person. It's like, because this person is, all of those other things weren't made in God's image. They were made in people's image, and you are made in God's image. So there's a specific reason why said person is the way that they are, the way that they're growing, in the process or the time frame that it takes to get to that point, to the point of where they're going. But you have to see whether or not that's worth it or not to you. And it might not be worth it to you, and that's okay. Just because somebody is a good person or can be a great girl or great guy doesn't mean that they're a great partner for you. You are an individual, and the person, and somebody else is an individual. You got to find the best match. Like, me and Day love going to Chick-fil-A. We go to Chick-fil-A every single day. Like, literally every single morning we get up, we're like, man, let's go to Chick-fil-A and get some food. However, if she loved Chick-fil-A and I was a vegan and I was like, I don't like to have, if I was a vegan, let's start there, and I was dating Day, it wouldn't work because she loved food too much. So it's like, she loves experiencing food, restaurants, all that. She likes to cook. She likes people enjoying her food. So it's like, if I wasn't able to relate to her in that way, it would be frustrating. That's not to say that we're bad people outside of anything else, but we don't relate and we don't connect in that type of capacity, and we just aren't meshed well. But we can be great friends. And I think a lot of times we're dating people that we can possibly be really good friends with, but we want it to be what we want it to be. And so we're forcing a relationship that doesn't need to be a relationship, but a friendship. And so you have to understand, even in your circles, in your spaces with the people that are inside your house, what image are they to you? You know, and is this image the proper image that's going to fit inside my frame? Or is this going to be something that would be cool to have in this type of capacity? A living room window is not going to be a bathroom window, and a bathroom window is not going to be a bedroom window. You can have different windows in your house, but that doesn't mean that every single window has to have the same role attached to it. And so we have to know, again, what God image is for us. And so I'm going to get into the first scripture of the night, because I'm not going to just be, what does what mean? The different windows. Because we have different people inside our lives. And so, like, just because I have a best friend doesn't mean that my best friend is still going to have the same role as my girlfriend. My girlfriend is not going to have the same role of my mother. My mother is not going to have the same role as my father. And so, Frank, shut up. The windows have different sizes and spaces in your life. And so they require a different amount of spacing and a different amount of attention. And so understanding what frame is meant for what capacity of your room or your house or your space is important in going forward. So you're not just trying to have that same type of feeling for every single person, because you're not going to be able to achieve that in a healthy way. And so 1 Samuel 16:7, if you can go to that real quick, and then we're going to end up wrapping up after these two. 1 Samuel 16:7 reads, and this is how the world perceives us. But the Lord said to Samuel, don't judge by his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord doesn't see things the way that you see them. People judge by outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. And that's the posture that we have to look at when we're vetting people, when we're identifying who we want to be inside our life, who we don't want to be in our lives, and our own personal hearts. The perception of your heart, the image of your heart is more important than the image of you outwardly, because the seasons that you go through in life are going to change. You can be a teacher in this season of your life. You can be a fashion designer in this season of your life. You can be a rapper in this season of life, and then you can end up being a pastor. Your life is going to be completely different in different seasons. And so when people are attaching themselves to that season of your life versus to your heart, that's where we get this tension at, because people don't necessarily care about, you as the heart. They're looking at the outward shell, the outward tint that you have as an individual. You need people inside your life that are solely looking to attach themselves to your heart. And if they can't attach themselves to your heart outside of all of the things that are on top of you as an individual, then they're not meant to be inside your life, and you need to dead them. And I think that that's the thing that we have to look at. Why is this person in my life? What are they serving the purpose of building up my heart and pouring into my heart? Or are they serving as somebody that loved me in a season of life and they only wanted me in this season of life? That's the thing that they're most attracted to. Beauty comes and fade, but like the heart doesn't. Dave, what's up?
I was gonna say, on the other side of that, it also then like reminds you the importance of following your heart. Sounds really corny, but like doing the thing that you're passionate about and making that your priority. Because those are the things that attract the person that will have longevity, is when somebody sees you doing the thing that you love and can experience your heart through the work that you're doing and the action that comes along with your heart. That's the sustainable side of attraction versus falling in love with the season or a piece of your personality ultimately. Because there's going to be times in your relationship and friendships and every relationship that like you don't have anything else to talk about. And it's going to come down to the times when, at the end of the day, because I'm going to be transparent, me and Jay don't have a lot to talk about all the time. We really don't be talking a lot because it's a lot of like, we're always doing something. And also Jay is always talking to someone. So when it's time that we have to talk, we like to just shut up and just be in the same space. But so ultimately it comes down to like a lot of the times where a lot of the love stems from most is when you get to experience the other person doing something that they love or they're really passionate about. And then you watch them and you're like, oh, this just filled my heart up because I really love this person's heart and I love how much they care about serving people, or I love to get to watch them speak over people and speak life into other people and teach people, etc. Because ultimately, whatever it is the thing that you're most passionate about, and the thing is that is like centered in your heart, is going to be the thing that you do for the rest of your life. That's going to be the thing that's unchanging, and it doesn't have to be bound to a certain median. Because ultimately, like, I know Jay's, and I'm speaking only for Jay because I only know Jay. Jay's heart really is in like bridging gaps and meeting people where they're at. And he's done that in his music. He's done that through working at the church. He does that through the Bible study and through friendships, etc. Like there are so many ways that he will meet people where they are to bridge them over to wherever they're trying to be. And that transcends beyond music. So if Jay never had a music career again, that part of his heart is never going to stop. And those are the times that you can feel the most love. I would hope that it's the same. Hopefully he's saying, oh my God, right now, I'm just feeling so loved watching Deja talk, because I don't do this. But I think that it's just a good reminder to prioritize, like if you're single, to prioritize doing the thing that you love, because that's going to place you in the spaces where you find the person that loves you for what you're doing and not for how you look or your personality trait or your Instagram pictures looking so cute, because they'll get to see you doing the thing that is unchanging and is not going to be stopped whether they're in your life or not. Lowers hand.
What's it, man? What's it? And I'm gonna end it off with this last verse that I want y'all to sit in, because I think that she's going really crazy right now. Shut up. I hate you, bro. So the last verse that we're gonna sit in, see, you blew it. The last verse that we're sitting in, I want y'all to just look at as an affirmation of what God sees us as, because at the end of the day, that's what all of this is for. Like, it's not for how the world sees us, because the world is going to see us as different things no matter what. And when we lean into what the world sees us, or even sometimes what we see ourselves as, or the closest people to us sees us as, we can get into states of being depressed, being anxious, being insecure, because their image is not the image that we would want somebody to have for us, or our image for ourselves is not what we want to have for us. And so God in First Peter 2:9, and this is where the mic is going to drop at afterwards. 1 Peter 2:9. It reads, but you are not like that. Well, I'm gonna go before that because the context is good. It says, and he is the stone that makes people stumble, the rock that makes them fall. This is just how people are in general. Like, people are gonna make you stumble, fall, whatever the case may be, all throughout life, because everybody's gonna do the things that they want to do. And when you're walking without God and feel like you have all of this freedom, it doesn't open up peace, it opens up chaos. And so you're gonna be prone to stumble and fall. They stumble because they do not obey God's word. And so they meet the fate that was planned for them. But verse 9 says, but you are not like that. You as a believer, I want you to lean into this. You are not like that, for you are a chosen people. You are royal priests, a holy nation, God's very own possession. As a result, you can show others the goodness of God, for he's called you out of the darkness into his wonderful light. Like, and when we can see that as us, and see like the purpose of why he's called you, the purpose of why you're still here. Like, there's so many times where we could have been gone, or we could have been dead, or we could have been, not here, but he has you here specifically for a reason, in order for you to continue to fulfill the purpose that you have for yourself. And so that purpose is to not only just be pulled out of darkness and into the light, but to pull other people or show people your light and allow them to see how your light shines, and persuade them or motivate them to walk into their own light. And so that's what I want y'all to highlight and live by, and remind yourself anytime you're looking at your image in a negative way, or other people saying things about you that you don't believe. Remember that you are a royal priesthood, a chosen people, a holy nation, God's very own possession. You're not somebody that God just met and like was cool with and kicking it and left and dipped or whatever whenever he didn't feel like it. Like, you're his child, his possession. What's up, Najar?
Dang, I was gonna go after you. You could have finished that thought.
No, that's pretty much it, man. Like, you just lean into the fact that like you are God's possession, and you being God's possession is you being his child, not just a stranger to God. Like, you came from him. You were made in his image. No matter what, you cannot fail God. All you can do is walk in the path of being his child. Mic drop.
Mic drop, man. That's good. Also, a word that you will hear when y'all are looking into this, you might hear imago Dei. It's basically the Greek for being created in the image of God. So I heard that like a lot, like in school, when just discussing this subject. And also, like, when you'll read Genesis, you'll start to read it and make that connection when you're reading it now. Because, I mean, you're formed, not necessarily that God is in humans in that perspective, but the opposite, that we're created in the likeness of God. So we have a uniqueness to have self-actualization and divinity versus any other creature in this world. Only humans have that. So it should change the perspective, like Jay was saying. So I love the way that you taught it, because it should change the perspective of the way that you see yourself and the way that you see other people. So it should change this perspective of the way that you see yourself. I'm loved by God, but also that because I'm loved by God, it changes my heart so that I should love other people and see them the way that they were created by God too. So that's good, man. Loved it.
You muted, Jay. We can't hear you.
Oh, I said, thank you, my brother. I appreciate that greatly. And then I asked, how do you spell that Imago Dei? Do you know how to like spell it out? Najari by chance? If not, I'll find out later. Imago. Okay, cool. I was gonna write it in the notes. But yeah, man, that's all I had for y'all. I hope that y'all was able to get something from it. I hope from those who did share, that you felt a level of being heard and a level of peace, from giving your testimony. And so, anybody have any final comments as we give the prayer request praise report? Nobody? Anybody? Y'all good? Did this help? Did this not help at all? By all means, feel free to let a brother know.
It helped a lot. It was very, very refreshing.
Good, man. I'm glad. All right, cool. Well, if nobody has anything else that they want to say, I want to pray us out of the message, and then we'll go ahead and get into the prayer requests, prayer supports. So, dear Heavenly Father, thank you for tonight. Thank you for allowing these people who are inside this call to be able to have the posture of just leaning into you, God. They could have been anywhere in the world, but they're here trying to learn, grow, and develop with your word. And so I pray that that is shown to not be in vain inside their lives. I pray that something that was said was a seed that will grow into a forest of faith. I pray that you continue to allow everybody that's inside this call to have a level of revelation that comes not only through listening to the teaching, but their own conversations that they're having and the conversations of others that have been spoken. And I pray as we're going into this month of May that the teachings that whoever is talking can rest on fertile soil as we're diving into the ideas of image, the ideas of perspective, and how you see us and not just the world seeing us. In your name I pray, amen. All right, cool, man. Get into the prayer request, praise reports. Anybody got any prayer requests or praise reports for us? And I'm sorry, is that Javet? I don't know how to pronounce that. I don't know if this was your first day here or not.
Yeah, it's Jave.
It's Have or Jave?
Jave.
Jave, thank you for coming, man. I appreciate you for tapping in and actually being able to hear us. Hopefully we didn't scare you away.
No. Y'all straight. Fine.
Thank you, man. All right, cool. All right, anybody got any prayer requests, prayer supports?
I'll mix it together. When I first got on here, I said that I was, I think, 13 pounds down. I'm currently 24 pounds down. And just pray that I keep that going. And my babies, they're doing very great. Even with this being a high risk pregnancy, they're doing amazing. And I want to just pray that they continue to do amazing and I can meet them healthy.
Definitely, man. Definitely got you. Congrats. That's a big deal. And so continue to go forward, man, on your journey. Continue to update us. We love to hear the progression. And definitely praying for the little ones.
Thank you.
Hey, anybody else?
Yeah. Yo, it's Teddy. Zoe turned 3 months. I'm sure Drew probably told y'all. Zoe turned 3 months was last week. Thugged out, growing. She talking and all that. She thugging. So that's pretty much my praise report. And yeah, man. Oh, prayer request. We are saving up by the grace of God. We're saving up to buy our first crib, like our first actual house. So you know what I'm saying. Prayers for that. And I think that's about it. Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah, I know a lot of y'all don't know what I do for work outside of like poetry and all that. But so I work in like truck sales, and I had my first 100K month, which was like last month. So we going up, man. Praise God.
Let's go, bro. I'm proud of you, dog.
Appreciate you, bro.
Proud of both y'all, man. Baby Zoe, man, turning 3. Man, soon she about to be 3 months. I'm just saying, yeah, but I'm saying like 3 months, and soon she about to be driving, bro. She about to be whipping a little bit.
Chill.
All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, I got one.
What's up?
Praise report. Just finished my last class for grad school, so I'm just an internship away from my master's. Still got a 4.0, the first time in my life, so I'm happy about all that. And hoping everything with this internship and my comprehensive exam goes well, so I can get that money. So yeah,
Feel that, man. Congrats, dog.
appreciate it.
I'm already knowing you ready to be out.
You have no idea.
Got you. Najari and Corey on their safe travels to Indiana. So got you all.
Let's just pray for me. Sorry if y'all hear stuff in the background. Pray for me, my mental health, my emotional well-being. Just really, I don't even know how to describe it, but this transition with this move, I don't know if I'm taking it necessarily well. Not in terms of just like missing people, but just like getting used to things and just, I don't know, trying to figure it out. Yeah. Oh, and tonight, a lot was said. Y'all are very loud tonight, so I just need all of what was said to just slow cook and marinate, you know? So yeah, but tonight was good. It was good, but it was just, you know? So that's it.
Got you, man. The Holy Spirit got you as well. Definitely speaking through.
Prayers for my siblings and myself going into this weekend. I feel like I talked about this a lot this fall, which is cringy to me, but it's Mother's Day this weekend, and that is typically pretty difficult for my siblings specifically. So just prayers that, like, you know, sound mind, in control of like understanding the growth that comes with a lot of stuff like that, and prayers for anyone else who struggles with Mother's Day and the different things that can be associated with that. Overall, I think that's it. Maybe our prayer request for Sydney, my sister. She's coming down to Atlanta tomorrow, so just safe travels here and back as well. And then let's just send up a general prayer for myself and for everyone else that's not here in the world.
Got you. Key money.
I have one more thing to add. Also prayers for my sister too. She got into some stuff, so we're just praying for my sister. Also, it's weird. A lot of like my friends and like even people kind of in extension to this group, a lot of the women have been like going through the same medical problems. So I just want to pray for everyone's health, specifically, it's gonna sound weird. People's ovaries. I don't know, but a lot of people I know, they're having like cysts and like all sorts of things are going on. So just prayer for everyone's physical health. Yeah.
That's true. Okay. Anybody else?
I'll just say a prayer for, I saw a really bad car accident yesterday, and when I left, there were 4 people trapped in a car that had flipped upside down in Conyers. And I don't know, I stayed, but I don't know if like everyone made it out alive. So just prayers for them.
Gotcha. That's scary. That's an accident. Okay.
Idea graduates this week. I don't know if she graduates. I think she graduates tomorrow. No, today.
She got, I think today.
So praise report for her graduating today. So I'm pretty sure that's where her and Mally are right now.
Okay. Anybody else? For support, my wife is a survivor. She loves to connect with you. Definitely. For those who may need like support or assistance, and Jar, you can get at the Key, and Key can connect them. She's seen. Anybody else? Anybody else have any prayer requests, praise reports? Okay, going once, going twice. All right, cool. We'll go ahead and pray out so y'all can have the rest of your night. Jave, again, thank you for coming. You know, we definitely appreciate and value you being here. And you know, hopefully, you know, you will be able to connect with us later on. If you would like, you can send your number to me like directly, or put it in the chat, or we have our Instagram, which is 1-800-PRAY-FOR-ME. You can leave your info there, but we'll just love to connect with you, follow up with you. And, you know, if you're cool with it, we have a group message where we kind of just stay in the loop of whatever we got going on and stuff. And so we're starting to do things out of just Zoom. And so we'll love to have you a part of it. But again, thank you for coming, and we appreciate you for that. And so, yeah, all right. Oh, yeah. Dr. Strange, we definitely pulling up to that tonight. I mean, tomorrow night. Wish it was tonight. All right, facts. We'll find one for you. Oh yeah, I got you, Teddy. I'm gonna add you to the chat. All right, cool. All right, if everybody can bow your heads, close your eyes, we'll go ahead and get up out of here. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you again for tonight. Thank you for allowing us to have the first Bible study of May. And thank you for just, again, this diligent group of young adults. I pray that you continue to be with them, continue to cover them, continue to direct them and guide them through life as they're going through a very curated amount of experiences. I pray that you continue to always give them the strength to lean into your Holy Spirit as far as the discernment goes in their decision making. I pray that they continue to look at themselves in the image of how you've created us to be, and not the image that the world again projects on us. And I pray that you continue to just Cover as well those who are not here, those who wish to be here, and everybody that we have inside our community. Build up this community in a way that only you can, God, and equip all of us in ways that only you can to go out into the world and be agents of peace and light and not destruction. I pray for Kendrick as he's continuing on his weight loss journey, God, that you continue to motivate him, continue to grow and prosper him in ways that only you can, and to inspire him to continue to move forward and push for the gains that he wants to see. I pray also for his babies, that you continue to keep them safe and healthy as they're growing and developing in his wife's stomach, God. I pray that they have, again, just a safe labor journey, and that they're able to love and cherish one another one day in the future. I pray for Teddy and Dree as they're trying to position themselves to get a new crib, God, that you continue to, again, just equip them with the finances, the resources, and also just the sound mind in their decision making to do that, God. Make their home a sanctuary wherever they are. And I pray that you continue to dwell inside their household. I pray for Najari and Corey as they're traveling to Indiana, that they have safe travels, God. I pray that you continue to use both of them in a mighty way, God. You paired them together for a purpose, a great purpose, and it's being seen every single day. So thank you for them. Thank you for their availableness to not only you, God, but to others. And I pray as they're going into this season of closing their house, that everything goes according to plan, and everything aligns in the way that they would like it to be. I pray for Key as she's transitioning, that you continue to just be with her, continue to give her a sense of clarity, a sense of peace and comfort in her decision that she's made, and also just a new set of perspective, God. I pray that in this new season of her life, that you're able to give her a revelation that only you can, only that you've called her to be, and places that you've called her to go, that you do that, God. And I pray also for her sister as she's dealing with specific issues, God, that you continue to be there with her as well. Keep your hand on her and don't let her stray too far away. I pray for the health of everybody that's inside this group. Continue to cover them with the blood of Jesus and protect them inside this space of life that they're in. I pray for Dave and her siblings as they're experiencing another Mother's Day, God, that you continue to affirm all of her siblings, that they are valuable, they are purposeful, and even in the confusion of your plan of removing their mother from their lives, that ultimately your plan is greater than the hurt and the burden that is on their hearts from it, God. So I pray that you continue to use them, continue to cover Day as she's been this mother figure for her siblings, that she continues to uplift them and encourage them, but also be with her and be that crutch that she can lean on in times where it's too hard, too heavy, or too hurtful to deal with, God. Be with her. Allow them all to have a level of sound mind. And for those who are going into this Mother's Day weekend that are struggling with their relationship with their mother, I pray that you be with them. I pray for Sydney as she's coming down to Atlanta, that you cover her, protect her, and give her a good time as she's going into Atlanta. And I pray for Dave's new apartment as she's transitioning into living on her own, that you be with her and you continue to let her know that everything will be fine in this transition phase. I pray for Kalia. I pray for Kalia, one, just in general, God, that you continue to give her the heart that you have for people, and that you continue to use her in a mighty way. I pray for those that she saw in that accident, God, that you cover them and your will is done through everything that happened. I pray for all the unasked prayers to be answered, God. You know what's on the heart of those that are in this chat. I pray for my relationship with my mother to be restored, as we are currently beefing because she is petty. I pray also for my grandmother, who just experienced the loss of her brother, God, that you continue to be with her and her siblings as they're going through this tragic time, as well as our entire family, God. I pray that you continue to use her as the strong rock that she is. And I pray that you would continue to cultivate a level of peace in all of us. In your name I pray, amen.